Marketing is more than website, ads, and mass email. As with anything else in business, there is no right and no wrong way to do things, even though that's what many marketers want you to think. But I'll say that for most people, sticking to one kind of marketing isn't a good idea. And today, in episode 57, we are going to talk about something that you can, and I want to say should, start putting more emphasis into. You're listening to Sustainable Photography, where you get support and education to build your profitable business in a way that supports your way of living. I'm Ingvild Kolnes, and after 11 years as a photographer, I want to share what I've learned with you. So if you're looking for confidence, inspiration, and to-the-point tips, keep listening. For full transparency, I also want you to know that I'm a mentor with paid offers, and I might mention some of those in this episode. Whether you mean to or not, your business is probably already affected by word of mouth marketing. And I'm not saying you're already doing it, because the whole purpose of it is that your clients are doing it for you. But once you're more aware of how powerful it is, you can do some things to make it more effective for you. So when you're working with a client, that client is likely to tell someone else about you if they were happy or unhappy with their experience. But that's only if what they got from you was better or worse than what they expected. And that is part of what you can control. So, influencer marketing, that's a well-known established thing by now. But what you might not have thought about is that every person you meet and work with has influencer power, so to speak. If someone tells you about their experience, it becomes so much more powerful than if it was told by someone else that was just random or distant to you. And that's simply because you trust your friends, you trust your family. So if they tell you to stay clear of a company, or if they tell you to say yes to someone, then you're so much more likely to take their word for it. Social media can also be word of mouth. There are many different kinds of word of mouth marketing. Social media, that's one kind, or it can be one kind of word of mouth marketing, but it depends on how you use it and what your focus is. So if you're collecting followers, that won't get you as far as if you're building relationships with your followers. The more invested your followers are in you, the more likely they are to recommend you to others. And a great example of this is the episode with Ine from Boudoiropplevelsen. She is really good at building relationships. She has a Facebook group which is all about building relationships. The Sustainable Photography program is about to open back up. And I can sit here and tell you all day and all night about how it will benefit you and why you should join. But if one of my previous students would tell you instead, then you're so much more likely to take their word from it. So, actually, right now, I'm going to tell you about some of my students and what they have said. Inessa, she said it was like therapy for her business and that she's increased her prices and booked her dream weddings since she joined. Taran's business was quite new when she joined, and this is what she says in her own words. The Sustainable Photography program gives you exactly what it promises, but Ingvild doesn't stop there. This course doesn't just teach you about making your business more sustainable. It teaches you about who you are as a person and how you can use yourself in your business to do even better. And I also want to tell you about Geril. She had been a photographer for 10 years when she joined, and she booked a dream wedding in Tuscany. She completely redid her branding, and she released a whole new photography concept. And she said, the program is amazing. I've been working as a photographer for 10 years, but finally Ingvild has pushed me to be the photographer I want to be. Okay, of course, it would be even more powerful if any of these lovelies would tell you this in person, but that goes a bit beyond what this podcast can do. But it feels great to be able to tell you what my previous students have said and done after joining. If you're curious, go to ingvildkolnes.com/sustainable to read all about it. And also feel free to DM me on Instagram. You'll find me at Ingvild Kolnes. And this was just a kind of a mix between an ad for my program, but also an example of how this kind of marketing works. Because In case you didn't know, somewhere between 20 and 50% of all purchases stem from influencers and word of mouth marketing. When you hear about a product or a service from someone who's telling you as it is, they'll share both the good and the bad, which makes it easier to believe. It's more real. The marketing message doesn't come from the company, which of course is biased, but it comes from an outsider, or even better, it comes from someone who's on your side. A big part of marketing is making sure that we're reaching the right people. And that's also a reason why word of mouth marketing works so well, because we'll only share our stories with those we think can benefit from hearing about it. So Taran or Enessa or Geril, they might tell their photographer friends about their experience with my mentor program, but they probably won't tell, their families or someone who isn't a photographer, because they'll have no benefit of being a part of it, probably. And also, it's important to know that word of mouth marketing is most effective when you're selling something with a high price tag, something that would normally include a lot of research, such as, for example, wedding photography, or something that you really are invested in, something that means a lot to you. Also, another reason why word of mouth marketing is so powerful is that it just keeps going. The word just keeps spreading, since people will share their experience with someone who will share it with someone else, who will share it with someone else, and so on. So that means that what you're sharing, this kind of marketing, has an endless potential if what you're sharing is a good story, or if what your clients are sharing is a good story, is better to say. There are different types of word of mouth marketing. It can simply be a happy client telling their friend without being urged to do so. It can be your social media posts getting shared, or maybe you're offering some kind of an incentive to someone for mentioning your services. The question is, though, what can you do? First, you have to get really good at what you do. You have to give your clients a great experience and a great result. Of course, you can ask them to share their experience with their friends and family. You can ask them for reviews. And maybe you also want to set up like a referral scheme. Like, for example, get 50% off your next photo session if you refer a friend or something like that. If you create social media posts that are likely to get shared by your clients, that's a great way to do things. But so often, photographers end up creating marketing material for other photographers. And that's not who you should be targeting. So get intentional with who you are, what you value, and what you believe that your clients value and what they need and want from you, because that will make everything else so much easier. Every Sunday, I send out an email to my newsletter list telling a customer service story. Usually, it's an example of a bad experience I've had with a company. And I think that there's so much to learn from everyday experiences when it comes to how we should or shouldn't treat our customers. Because, in case that wasn't clear, word of mouth goes both ways, with or without you being aware of it. And that's why treating your customers well is so important. And I think that's where that saying the customer is always right comes from, because even though they're not right, which they aren't in a lot of cases, you have to treat them well, and you have to make sure that you're building an experience where you're managing their expectations in such a way that they feel good inside. I've mentioned this several times, but it doesn't help if a piece of information is available to them, like, for example, in the contract, if they aren't aware, if they haven't really realized that that is the case, whatever it may be. So information is so important, and it doesn't help you to be right if your client isn't aware of it. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to learn more about this or anything else when it comes to marketing and pricing and making sure that your clients have a great experience, check out the Sustainable Photography Program. Go to ingvildkolnes.com/sustainable. Thanks for listening to Sustainable Photography. Head over to Instagram at Ingvild Kolnes to tell me what you want future episodes to be all about. Check out the show notes over at ingvildkolnes.com/podcast. You can learn more about the Sustainable Photography Program and sign up for the waitlist there. To get more of this content, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your support makes all the difference. Talk soon.